former inmate is suing over dental care.
And a Washington County man accused of sexually assaulting young girls waived his case. Hello and thank you for joining us on Channel 14 News. I'm Kyle Dawson.
And I'm Brendan Keeney. A trial focusing on a former Washington County inmate's dental care began Wednesday morning in federal court in Pittsburgh. Joseph Consonery filed a lawsuit against Washington County and jail officials claiming his requests for dental treatments were denied on multiple occasions. Consonery claims upon his arrival to prison, he informed a nurse at the jail that he had an infected tooth and needed a dentist. The tooth later snapped, leaving Consonery with bleeding, infection, and much pain. A dentist who later came in to examine him was unable to pull the tooth, and he suggested Consonery see an oral surgeon. Joseph Peltzer, the warden at the time, denied Consonery a furlough so he could have the tooth extracted. The case should last 5 days, and county officials are expected to testify.
A Washington man accused of sexually assaulting 2 young girls waived his case to court on Wednesday morning. Joseph Plovic is accused of assaulting both girls several years ago in multiple locations. Plovic, who was arrested by Washington and Pennsylvania State Police, was charged with rape, indecent assault, and endangering the welfare of a child. He was already in jail awaiting his trial for his alleged role in the brutal assault of a mentally challenged woman. His bond on all charges amounts to $250,000.
Louis Eugene Collazo IV, who earlier pleaded guilty to 2 counts of bad checks, was sentenced Friday by Greene County Judge Farley Toothman to 1 year of probation. Collazo issued 2 checks knowing that they would not be honored by the bank. On April 25, 2013, Collazo wrote a check for $217 to Burns Exxon in Windridge, and on April 27, 2013, he issued a check for $288 to Shoe ABC Parts in Rich Hill Township. Collazo pleaded guilty to the charges January 8th. In addition to probation, he was ordered to pay fines totaling $500, perform 100 hours of community service, and pay restitution.
A state senator representing Washington and Greene counties was questioned by state police 3 years ago regarding claims that he was having an ongoing relationship with a woman whose husband was murdered. State Senator Tim Solibai discussed his relationship with the victim's wife and admitted to knowing and befriending the woman, Amy Durbin, but says they were nothing more than friends. Police made clear that Solibai was not a suspect in the case, as he was only questioned.
A South Franklin Township woman died Wednesday afternoon as she was driving along Bedillion Road in South Franklin. 63-year-old Priscilla Simpson was driving down a hilly driveway about 1:20 p.m. when she crossed Bedillion Road and continued over a hillside. Her vehicle came to a rest after striking a tree. Washington County coroner said that Simpson had a history of cardiac problems. He ruled the death was attributed to natural causes. State police are investigating, but additional information was not available.
Coming up next, the first U.S. citizen with the Ebola virus has died, and a high school teacher has been fired for an experiment gone wrong. All of that and more after the break.
Libby the library cat found her love for books at the Bowlby Library. Bowlby Library, located off of West Street in Waynesburg, Pennsylvania, is a free public library that offers different services to the residents of Greene County. The library includes both a children's department as well as an adult section. The family literacy department offers different tutoring opportunities as well as computer classes. For more information about library services, please visit www.evakbowlby.org.
Greene County is made of rural communities built on traditional values. The Community Foundation of Greene County is a stronghold to those who call Greene County their home. Located on High Street in Waynesburg, Pennsylvania, the foundation gives back to the Greene County community. The donors are the heart and soul of this organization. The foundation strives to preserve the community and leave legacies for future generations. For more information about donations and how to get involved, please contact the foundation at 724-627-2010.
Thomas Eric Duncan, a man who contracted the Ebola virus, has died in Texas as the U.S. announces new efforts to screen for the deadly virus at some airports. CNN's Andy Rose has the story.
Thomas Eric Duncan, the Liberian man who was diagnosed with Ebola several days after arriving in Dallas, Texas, died Wednesday morning. Duncan had been in critical condition and was isolated at a local area hospital. A statement released from the Texas Department of State Health Services reads in part, The doctors, nurses, and staff at Presbyterian provided excellent and compassionate care, but Ebola is a disease that attacks the body in many ways. We'll continue every effort to contain the spread of the virus and protect people from this threat. Duncan was the first man to be diagnosed with Ebola in the U.S. Meanwhile, the federal government is taking new measures to try and keep other infected patients out of the U.S. Some airports will start conducting separate screenings for travelers arriving in the U.S. who are coming from West African countries where Ebola is prevalent. Those countries include Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Liberia. These arriving passengers will have their temperatures taken beginning either this weekend or next week. But the White House insists the best screening takes place before a plane lands on U.S. soil.
Preventing individuals who are already exhibiting symptoms of Ebola from boarding a plane in the first place is the most effective measure that will counter and has countered the spread of Ebola.
So far, more than 3,800 people have died from this current outbreak, according to the World Health Organization, and more than 8,000 have contracted Ebola since March. In Atlanta, I'm Andy Rose reporting.
A high school science experiment gone wrong. 4 students were injured and a teacher was fired. Kelly Worthman has more.
It's been 3 weeks since an 11th grade chemistry experiment took a horrific turn.
All his head was on fire.
4 students were injured, one seriously, when a container filled with methanol exploded.
And then the flame front projected out of that jug about 12 meters right at the student.
That student is still recovering and has yet to return to school. While his 3 classmates did go back, their teacher, Daniel Powell, will not finish his first year at the Science, Math, and Arts Academy Charter School. In a letter sent to the school's families, administration announced Powell's employment has been terminated. The U.S. Chemical Safety Board is among those investigating the incident. They say Mr. Powell was not properly trained to handle methanol, even though the Federal Occupational Safety and Health Administration requires school districts to train and supervise teachers who handle hazardous chemicals. The school would not comment further on the firing of Mr. Powell due to an ongoing investigation.
A preschooler's mom was arrested this week after her 4-year-old daughter brought 249 packets of heroin to a Delaware daycare and handed them out to other students thinking it was candy. Police say the child ended up with the drugs when her mom gave her another backpack after hers was ruined by a family pet. Teachers at Hickory Tree Child Care Center found several of the children with the packets and collected them. Delaware State Police have charged 30-year-old Ashley Tull of Selbyville with maintaining a drug property and 3 counts of endangering the welfare of a child. All of the children are now staying with a relative, and Tull is under court order to not contact them. She was released on a $6,000 bond.
On Monday, USA Swimming suspended the most decorated Olympian ever, Michael Phelps, for 6 months and said he will not be on next year's U.S. team at the World Championships. The 22-time Olympic medalist also will not be paid his monthly stipend. Phelps, who was charged with driving under the influence last week in Maryland, has violated the team's code of conduct. The swimmer announced Sunday on Twitter that he is taking a break from the sport, quote, to attend a program that will provide the help I need to better understand myself. Swimming is a major part of my life, but right now I need to focus my attention on me as an individual, end quote. The decision comes after he was charged last week with DUI, excessive speed, and crossing double lines on I-95 in Baltimore. Police said his blood alcohol content was 0.14.
The pilot of an air tanker battling a wildfire at Yosemite National Park died after the tanker crashed. The tanker was being used to help battle Dog Rock Fire when authorities lost contact with its pilot Tuesday afternoon. Federal Aviation Administration spokesman Ian Greger said the plane went down near an entrance to the park. The aircraft went down under unknown circumstances. The Dog Rock Fire was reported around 5:45 Eastern Time Tuesday between the park boundary and the Ark Rock entrance station. The blaze has prompted the evacuation of 60 homes already. The pilot was identified as Jeffrey Craig Hunt yesterday. He was 62 years old.
Coming up next, a Pittsburgh judge who refused to dismiss charges.
Today is Saturday. Today is Saturday. Yeah. Salad on Saturday, fruit on Friday, throw a ball Thursday. Water Wednesday, touch your toes Tuesday. Let's move Monday, swap snacks Sunday. All the healthy children eat well and move a lot. and move a lot, and move a lot. Eat well and move a lot.
60 minutes of physical activity a day and eating well can help get your child healthy. So keep them active and eating well every day.
Skip a rope Saturday, freeze tag Friday, tap dance Thursday.
Whole grains Wednesday, try a veggie Tuesday. Let's move Monday, split the sweet Sunday.
Eat well and move a lot.
Today is Saturday. Today is Saturday.
All the healthy children, all the healthy children.
Get ideas. Get involved. Get going at letsmove.gov. That's letsmove.gov.
A judge refused to dismiss the remaining charges against a black man who was shot and paralyzed by a white Pittsburgh police officer when the motorist drove away from a traffic stop. Prosecutors haven't said whether they will retry Leon Ford in a shooting that heightened tensions between the city's black community and police. Last month, a jury acquitted Ford of aggravated assault, but could not come to an agreement on the charges of resisting arrest, escape, and 3 counts of reckless endangerment. Ford's attorneys said he did nothing wrong as police aggressively pulled him over after mistaking him for a wanted gang member. Police contend that Ford wrongly drove away while the police officer attempted to shut off his vehicle, which put the police officer in danger. Prosecutors have until October 21st to decide if they will try Ford.
Suspected criminals in the Allegheny County Courthouse are normally inside the courtrooms awaiting justice, but on Tuesday morning, one was inside a jury room stealing cash. After closing arguments of a case being heard at the time, the jury returned to the normally secure jury waiting room to find their purses and other personal belongings rifled through. Reports say no credit cards or electronics were taken, and sheriff's deputies are investigated and arrested Jawanda Tench yesterday. She is facing a list of charges including burglary, criminal trespass, and receiving stolen property.
A federal inmate in Clarksburg, West Virginia, has been sentenced to life without the possibility of parole in the slaying of another prisoner. A federal jury found Kevin Bellinger guilty of second-degree murder and murder by an inmate serving a life sentence. Bellinger and another inmate, Patrick Andrews, stabbed fellow inmate Jesse Harris in the U.S. Penitentiary at Hazleton in 2007. Bellinger's sentence will run consecutively to his past sentence.
2 mental health specialists will visit the Westmoreland County Juvenile Detention Center to treat the teenager awaiting trial on charges including attempted homicide in the Franklin Regional High School knife attack. Common Pleas Judge Christopher Feliciani rescinded his earlier order that said 17-year-old Alex Ryball could transfer from the center, where he has been held since his April 9th arrest, to a mental health treatment facility. The judge said the simple reason for this is no facilities are willing to accept him. Under the new order, Ryball will receive regular and consistent treatment from 2 psychologists as often and for as long as they deem necessary. Ryball is being charged as an adult with 21 counts each of attempted homicide and aggravated assault, as well as having a weapon on school property.
Coming up after the break, Anthony Kahn will have your business report. Stay tuned.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
A full life, measured in seats, starts with the right ones early on. Car crashes are the #1 killer of children 1 through 13. Learn how to prevent deaths and injuries by using the right car seat for your child's age and size.
Anthony, with the holidays right around the corner, can you tell us how consumers will spend this season?
Brennan, the nature of the economy has a great influence on how much consumers are willing to spend. Early estimates on retailers forecast the biggest increase in holiday sales since 2011. CNN's Karen Kaifa has more on this trend in sales.
Better economic signs mean retailers have high hopes for the holiday season.
Overall, consumers are feeling a little bit better, and that could very well translate into dollars for retailers.
With about 11 weeks to go until Christmas, the National Retail Federation forecasts a 4.1% increase in holiday sales over last year to just under $617 billion overall. That economic optimism is echoed by some consumers.
Things have been a little bit better. I think I'm not as worried about what's happening, as far as job security like I have in past years.
The nation's unemployment rate is at its lowest since 2008, and the season lacks major economic unknowns of previous years. The 2012 holiday shopping season was clouded by Congress's fight over the fiscal cliff. In 2013, October's 16-day government shutdown left lingering effects. But the recession and recovery have taught Americans to tighten those holiday budgets.
It's clear that consumers want to be cautious. It's clear that for the past few years, what we've seen with the economy, people sort of rethink the role of holiday spending.
It's not so much about spending mass amounts of money as much as finding quality pieces.
Retailers are well aware, and bargains will still be key.
Everything from web promotions to in-store promotions, and of course even mobile promotions will be big.
The forecast also anticipates an 8 to 11% increase in online sales as consumers further expand shopping options beyond the mall. For Consumer Watch, I'm Karen Kafa.
HTC has introduced a camera that is compatible with smartphones. The HTC Re is a handheld action camera that is just less than 4 inches high and waterproof. It is shaped like an L, allowing for easy handling by the users. The camera can work independently, but is capable of a lot more once connected to a smartphone. HTC plans to rival action camera giant GoPro with their newest invention. The Re can shoot time-lapse and slow-motion videos. HTC will release the Re before the end of the year, with the cost at $199. Technology corporation HP has announced that it will be splitting. The PC and printer operations will separate from the corporate software services, allowing each company to receive more focus and financial resources. Shares of HP went up more than 4% the following week after the announcement. The split is expected to be completed before 2016. AT&T has agreed to compensate for unauthorized charges it added to customers' monthly bills. AT&T will pay $105 million for these charges that consisted of third-party services such as horoscopes and trivia. In the act known as mobile cramming, the corporation is accused of keeping at least 35% of these fees, which cost customers $9.99 per month. A similar incident occurred with T-Mobile this past summer. Federal Communications Commission Chairman Tom Wheeler says that 7 cases related to mobile cramming have been brought to light, and more are coming. AT&T has already reached a settlement and set aside money for customer refunds. Car manufacturer Tesla has been turning heads with its electric vehicles. With these advancements in technology, there have also come questions from consumers. Upcoming tasks for Tesla include building more car batteries and also establishing more recharging stations, as there are only about 120 around the United States. A problem that Tesla also faces is affordability. Starting price for a Tesla car is around $70,000. For Channel 14 Business, I'm Anthony Kahn. Your Jacket Sports Update with Matt Cole starts right after this.
Adopting a new pet is a rewarding experience. And shelter pets make super pets. Your new best friend will steal your heart, bring you happiness, and enrich your life for years to come. You can make a difference in the life of an animal. Adopt and bring home a shelter pet today. To find out more, visit theshelterpetproject.org.
Matt, the Waynesburg football team got back on track this Saturday with an impressive win over Grove City. Carter Hill actually became the first quarterback in 10 years to pass for 5 touchdowns in a game at Waynesburg. Can you tell us more?
Yeah, it really seems like this Waynesburg team has Grove City's number. This is the second straight year that they've gone on the road to Grove City and have dominated them, and they'll look to bring that momentum into the homecoming game this Saturday. As after losing its first game of the year last week, the Waynesburg University football team came into Grove City and shellacked the Wolverines on Saturday with a 35-0 blowout victory. It was the second straight shutout of Grove City for Waynesburg after a 38-0 beatdown last year, and was also the second shutout of the season. Senior quarterback Carter Hill had his best game of the year to date, completing 20 of 34 passing attempts for 311 yards with 5 touchdowns and no interceptions. Senior running back Jake Forsythe saw his 3 straight 100-yard performances come to an end, but was still highly effective, rushing for 90 yards on 23 carries. The Waynesburg offense churned out 469 yards of total offense, while the defense limited Grove City to 232 yards of total offense, including just 60 on the ground. The Jackets return home for homecoming on Saturday to take on Case Western Reserve. The Waynesburg men's soccer team played its President's Athletic Conference opener on Friday night against Grove City. The men took the Wolverines into double overtime and won by the final score of 2-1. Senior Nick Brommer scored to tie the game up at 1 with 11 minutes left in regulation. And then with just 27 seconds left in the second overtime period, senior Cody Lemke angled a header past the Wolverine goalkeeper to give the Jackets the victory. The women, meanwhile, dominated Chatham at home last night, defeating the Cougars by the final score of 5-0. 4 different players scored for Waynesburg, including 2 goals by junior Carly Murphy. Both teams will travel to Teal on Saturday for another conference matchup. The Waynesburg women's tennis team hit the road Friday to Latrobe to take on the St. Vincent Bearcats. The Yellow Jackets came up short in this one, though, losing by a final score of 8-1. The Jackets' lone victory of the day came at third doubles, with senior Madison Dubrock and junior Rachel Wilson picking up an 8-6 win. The women are back in action today, though, at home against La Roche College. Waynesburg Volleyball welcomed rival Washington and Jefferson to the Rudy Marisa Fieldhouse Tuesday for its annual Dig Pink match, an effort to raise awareness for breast cancer research. The Jackets fell 3-0 in the contest, though, and were led by junior Courtney Skinner, who posted a team-high 14 digs, and by freshman Delaney Denniston, who added 13 assists. Waynesburg is back on the court today, playing host to the top dogs in the PAC, the Thomas More Saints. And finally, congratulations to our Waynesburg Athletes of the Week, senior goalkeeper Brandon Daughtry and senior women's tennis player Lauren Cowden. Daughtry played a vital role in the soccer team's scoreless draw of Frostburg State and double overtime victory against Grove City this week, totaling 20 saves in the victories and boasting a .952 save percentage. Cowden, meanwhile, picked up Waynesburg's lone singles win this past week against W&J at the number 6 spot, and leads the team with an overall record of 8-2 in singles play this season. Congratulations again to both athletes. I'm Matt Cole, and that's sports. Up next, Ryan Schwertfeger has the latest headlines in this week's Yellow Jacket.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 110. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs.
Ryan, I know that some Waynesburg business graduates took advantage of quite the opportunity recently. Could you explain to us a little bit more about this?
Certainly can, Brendan. They actually just returned back from a trip to Europe, of all places. A new issue of the Yellow Jacket hit stands today, and here's a preview of what you'll find in this week's newspaper. 19 members of Waynesburg University's business graduate program recently had the opportunity to travel to Europe to study different international business practices. Now, over the course of 9 days, the group spent a majority of their time in London and in Paris. The purpose of the trip was to get a more in-depth look at business practices in other cultures. While there, the group also had the opportunity to visit banks and meet with top executives. The trip was open to current students and alumni of the program. Although the cost for the traveling was high, that did not appear to deter people from going and having a good time. Waynesburg University recently introduced the John C. Knox Writing Contest, a writing opportunity for high school students who have an interest in journalism. On November 1st, interested students from across Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia will gather at Waynesburg University to compete for a grand prize of $500 and a chance to be published in our Yellow Jacket newspaper. A part of the contest even includes a press conference held by former Pittsburgh Pirates announcer and current Waynesburg University instructor Lanny Fratteri. The students will gather their information from the press conference and try their best at writing an award-winning article. Renovations are now underway in one of Waynesburg University's most historic buildings. Located in Miller Hall, Alumni Hall is currently receiving a facelift, and with the work just starting this semester, the overhaul has only just begun. Miller Hall was built during the administration of Alfred B. Miller, Waynesburg's college president from 1859 to 1899. Now, the building was constructed with 803,000 clay bricks, some of which came by from nearby Lake Juanita. The renovations completed thus far are only cosmetic, as both the carpet and the lighting fixtures have both been replaced. The renovations to Alumni Hall were made possible by donations from Waynesburg alumni, all while the university is continually striving to improve historical buildings on campus. Now, you'll find these stories and much more in this week's Yellow Jacket on stands right now. To view the publication online, you can visit www.theyellowjacket.org. Reporting for the Yellow Jacket newspaper, I'm Ryan Schwertfeger. Now, here's a look at this week's weather forecast with JD Leidick.
Hold off on pulling out those fall clothes as warmer temperatures could be headed our way next week. Temperatures in the 70s with sun are set for the early stages of next week. I'll give you all the details along with a full 5-day forecast. All this and more coming up right after the break. Stay tuned.
When you're out there, there's no telling what you'll find.
I see it, I see it! Oh, look at you.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
Taking a look at the 5-day forecast for Friday, week 7 of WPIO action in play. We could see some rain during many of the games, 50% chance of rain throughout the day with a high of 59. Lows for kickoff dipping down to around 46. As we move into the weekend on Saturday, another cool day as the high will be 59 with mostly cloudy skies, the low dipping into the evening around 45 degrees. On Sunday, a few thunderstorms are expected in the area with highs rising back up into the mid-60s. Chance of rain 60%. The low at night will be around 56 degrees. As we get back into the work week, the temperatures will rise up into the 70s, 75 the high on Monday. Early morning clouds will give way to sun throughout the day and a low at night of about 60 degrees. And wrapping up the 5-day forecast, the high temperature will remain in the 70s with a high of 73 on Tuesday, a chance of rain in the afternoon, and a low of about 54 in the evening. Today we will see a mix of cloud and sun with clouds moving in towards the afternoon. A high today of expected around 61 degrees, a low tonight of 46. For Channel 14 Weather, I'm JD Leidick.
Thank you for joining us on Channel 14 News this evening. I'm Brendan Keeney.
Tune in 2 weeks from today and every week thereafter for Live at 5. And for all of us here at Channel 14 News, I'm Kyle Dawson. Until next time, have a great weekend, everybody.